I made a video where I responded to someone's commentary, and to review, it was a person who is either A, deciding that evolution can only happen not in humans, or special circumstances like that, or that it's not real, or they're either using word games or a different definition for the subject to decide that it doesn't apply or something. And I brought up that this usually is caused by people, A, promoting evangelical flat earth style thinking, or B, simply people who are repeating this information because it's what they have to work with. And I consider them to be victims of a system that's been put in place to make sure that rich, powerful people in robes stay in power because you can't remove them from office. Now, a lot of people take extreme exception to this sort of thing, but that is the pattern I've seen in society. So I'm going to read back a person's set of comments, and I've done them in an order of what they're saying towards me that I consider, we're going to call it positive statements. And then I'm going to bring up the parts that I take exception to concerning me only, and then their assertions. Because I'm not even sure this is the same person. I'm not going to check. Let's just take this as a flat comment. I've been respectful and kind always. I am and have been a loyal subscriber. I think open and honest discussion is important, especially given our current situation. I don't mind debates. I asked your point of view because I was sincerely interested in your answer. And yes, this is taken out of sequence. The actual copy will be below in the description. An intelligent debate with facts is healthy and thought-provoking, yet it appears as if you're only interested in communicating with those who agree with you. I'm going to chop this now. No, debates are useless if everybody agrees with me. I don't learn anything. I only learn things by being challenged in what I believe, and more importantly, being able to find out what other people believe. I used to believe, or think it was more likely, that the semi-aquatic ape hypothesis was useful. If you want to look it up, it's almost laughable these days, but at the time I thought it was useful when I was in high school. And then I had someone explain to me each of the components of it and what they're based on, and that their basis wasn't really, they had no basis for existing. And the other thing is it made a bunch of assumptions that were assumptions. I am interested in communicating with people who don't agree with me, because the people who do agree with me are either going to agree or take a slightly different tack, which may be no more than annoying. Anger, fear, frustration, or stupidity leaving the brain, like pain is weakness leaving the body. This is normal. But that means that if you are going to have a debate or a discussion or just talk about things, we do have to start with some sort of rules here, at least some ground rules. People have forgotten to do that. That's not necessarily this person, I'm just saying in general. This is about the internet people, not normal people who live next door to you who are not, angrily trying to get you to rage quit life or something. We're talking about reality. In my humble opinion, that leaves no room for learning or growth if, again, the previous sentence, this is actually in order, waptek is only interested in communicating with those who agree with him. I don't do that. I wouldn't communicate with you if that was true. I would just let the comment post and ignore it. So that doesn't make any sense on the face of it, in my opinion. Intelligent debate with facts, yes. Opinions, yes. But we must stop mixing them. This is a basic line of reasoning I use, because opinions are somewhat unreasoning. I have an unreasoning attitude towards things that I have a visceral response to. My attitude towards whether housing should be a human right has changed over the years because I wasn't able to have it. I mean, I lived in a pie-in-the-sky like a lot of people do life because I'm a typical American that had access to things. We only appreciate things and realize how terrifyingly important they are when we don't have them. Next, I wish you the best, which is impossible for you to believe. Why would I not believe that? Now we're getting into the thing I brought up before on the previous video. Are you a person commenting to me that is conditioned to assume a shit ton of things about someone? You could say I did the same thing to you, but I'm asking questions. The original assertion by the person was leaning towards a decision that they weren't going to believe that evolution could exist, or they were resistant to it, or it only applied to animals, or only a certain type of evolution, but not to the whole enchilada of what evolution is. That's okay. I mean, if you don't want to use it, it's not needed. One of the things about evolution people don't get is, except for very obvious examples like viruses and bacteria mutating over time, or taking care of a farm and making sure your chickens and everything like that are hardy and ready for the environment they're in, evolution as a study is essentially academic in the more annoying way of saying academic. It's not relevant. But when it comes to evolution of viruses or finding out how things happened, you don't have to just accept it, but you can't decide that you're going to poo-poo it just because you grew up being told not to believe in it, or you grew up with a group of people that didn't believe in it and you just poo-pooed it. That's not necessarily what this person is going through, but that's what I see in people sometimes. And a lot of us don't, including myself, don't like acknowledging that we've grown up with biases. I deal with them every day. I'm loaded with biases. Everyone is, I think. I've only met a couple of people who didn't have biases. One of them was a jazz geek and a couple of monks, and that's about it. By the way, the jazz geek eventually became a monk and vice versa. But the point is, we all have presumptions we start off with, and the hard part about it is sometimes we have to tear them down. I am sorry your family, society, and people in general have seemingly destroyed your faith in humanity. Now, I'm going to say this forthright. A, this person is assuming this because I'm a misanthrope in my YouTube videos. Okay. Or B, have you been told that if a person disagrees with you, you should assume that God hurt them, or society hurt them, or they're just lashing out because they're angry? Again, evolution as a, not academic, but as a practical way of applying knowledge is useful and has outcomes that are useful. It's not perfect. It screws up every once in a while. It's not exact. But it works better than literally anything you would use to replace it. That's all its value is. Otherwise, I don't give a damn about Darwin. Or even, selective breeding versus natural selection. Except that on a practical level, we run into these sorts of things. But my faith in humanity has been destroyed by my family or society and people in general. No, in spite of the efforts by a very tiny number of people in the world and a very small portion of the population as subcultures that go out of their way trying to make sure no one has a faith in humanity, I have a strong sense of faith in humanity. I assume that a religiously motivated person who can be elected to politics can put away their religion. And a politician can walk into a church and celebrate with everybody without having to be part of that religion. I can go to a church, even though I'm an atheist. There's nothing wrong with it. Setting limits for ourselves or isolating ourselves from the rest of humanity doesn't seem to work very well. And it sounds like you're making a set of presumptions that are either based on, well, all atheists are like that, or everybody who's outside of her faith is this way. Here's a clue if that's how you believe. I don't know that. But to the people out there who believe if you're part of a culture, belief system, religion, even a country, and you believe everybody who isn't part of your group is miserable, none of them are. I mean, literally just assume people aren't miserable just because they're not part of your group. Don't make that assumption. People tell you that sort of thing. Well, you should feel sorry for people or whatever. No. And my faith in humanity is extremely robust, thank you. We do live in an untrusting world, but you know that better than most. Some aspects of it, yeah. Other aspects, no. Trust isn't a blanket term. We don't just all trust humans. We also don't mistrust them. It's dynamic from second to second with everybody. I have 2 relatives that have medical conditions that make it to where they can, out of nowhere seemingly, lash out and become dangerous. 2 friends and relatives. Because they had an undiagnosed problem that would cause them to go into some weird state. And I have had a very tiny version of that, finding out that I was experiencing a brain injury years later, an effect of it, that made it to where I was, I think they referred to it as disassociated. It just meant that I was going through the motions, but I didn't feel emotionally or psychologically invested in anything for a full day at a school day. This is after a head injury. Brain injuries can cause that. And I have a vague idea what that means when that happens to somebody who's been on medication or illegal medication or just drank too much. And I understand how that is, and I can feel for them, and I can actually try to help them. And again, normally people are just fine. The majority of people are not miserable, and the majority of people get along quite well. We have a very base minimum we need, and we can go below it for a while. And everybody's a little different. I'm sorry you have been so deeply betrayed and hurt by others. Not all of us are out to harm you. Now, all of this together, I've organized it this way because I wanted to put that type of content at the back end here of the statement set. The first part says that it's a person who enjoys watching my channel, maybe wants to debate, that sort of thing, or discuss something, or just exchange information, which is much more useful. Then I'm going to bring up what you bring up in a minute, and I'm going to critique it, which is okay. I could decide that this is a critique of me as a person by you saying these things, which is dumb. But I'm critiquing it based on what I see it through. And again, this is based on my perspective. But I'm going to bring up something that I'm going to say I'm very upset by. Nobody's destroyed my faith in humanity, and I've only been betrayed or hurt by a couple of people who were extremely focal problems in the world for really everyone around them. I just found out about it by accident. There's maybe a half dozen people on the planet that have done that in person. And over the internet, almost the same number. One of them trying to make it look like a mob attacking me. Once I figured that out, I realized this person was of no interest. They still had an effect, shooting down YouTube channels and such, and making my sister cry once, if that asshole is watching. Actually doing enough on the internet to make one of my relatives upset. That's the only thing you accomplished. You made a beautiful person cry. Whoever that person is, the real name, I'm pretty sure I know who it is, wants to contact me. It's not, yeah, your achievement on Earth is earning a place in hell, if there is one. But that isn't something that would cause me to lash out at a person saying evolution isn't perfect, or I don't agree that it works the way we've been told. We don't know how it works when we've been told it. Even evolution experts say, we only know what the effects are. We only know what we're able to see. Our computer simulations aren't complete yet. I mean, we don't even know exactly how it works. But it's the best we got to work with currently, which is pretty sad, honestly. And I'd like to remind everybody, if you're not aware of it, we can retroactively from today backwards figure out probably how COVID-19 happened. Just like we can do with, any plague. But we won't really know. Okay, we're at that limit. So it seems like every time we look further back in time, we get more confused. Like the origin of the universe, for instance. But anyway, this was originally about evolution and the debate around it, which it's okay to debate it, but it's not okay to do tactics. And the thing that I complain about is this person was parroting tactics. And now again, parroting tactics saying, oh, here's some personal defects in you. Not really, but you get the idea. It's kind of leaning that way. Now we're going to get to the positive assertions the person made about what they believe or not. We are currently living biblical times, and prophecy is being fulfilled almost daily. Counterpoint. People have been saying that since the prophecies came out, and the prophecies that you're referring to originally referred to things to happen in the near future within one generation, which means 500 AD at latest. No, we're not living in those times because those times are in the past. Soon people will see words written in the book of Genesis jump off the pages. Again, same answer. It's not a pretty sight. Actually, I think the book of Genesis is beautiful. I'm not sure what the hell you're talking about. In a matter of years, every single prophecy from all the books will be wrapped up inspired from the word by God. And it can be scientifically proven. No, it can't. Because you're failing to find the time scale here, in my opinion. And also, this has been repeated over and over again for the entire time I've been alive and has never been done. Unless a person decides they're going to make scientific proof be the word they use for every argument you can't get them to admit they're wrong about. That's not the same thing as scientific proof. They're not even in the same universe. But you can continue believing what you will, and if you want to watch my channel, that's useful. And if you want to assume these things about me, I can't stop you. But I don't know where they come from. And if you decide, You can respond to this as well. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good